Today I want to talk about my bikini competition. I did a video sometime back, but I didn't disclose everything, right? And the secret is I'm turning 40 this year. And I have been doing this series called Reflections. One was on my biggest mistakes and basically what I wish my younger self would have known and what I learned from that. And today I want to go through my reflections on my bikini competitions. And this was triggered because I was scrolling through some videos that I've done in the past and saw I did one on everything I learned from bikini competitions. And it was very tactile, tactics based, and really all the actions you need to take. And this is exactly what I did, and this is exactly what you need to do to compete, or what I did to compete and transform my body. But I didn't disclose everything, right? And the secret is I learned to change myself in that process. I changed the person that I was. I became the kind of person that can do something like that. And I became the kind of person that has a fit body. And I think people meet me now and they just assume that I've either been like this my whole life or it's easier for me. But honestly, I've built it into my lifestyle and I've built it in a way that I enjoy. Am I perfect all the time? Do I think my body's perfect? No. I'm sure, all sorts of people watching can see, some of my loose skin left over from pregnancy. And, I'm 6 months postpartum, working on 7 months postpartum. And am I perfect? No. I certainly can get into the place where I get into negative self-talk. However, I really worked on my mindset and being more of a, I don't even want to say positive person, although I do consider myself to be a Labrador Retriever. I'm pretty social. I like most everyone. Um, I'm a little bit extra talkative than probably most people and scare some people off, and that's fine. I've become more comfortable in my own skin. And one of the things I do is I say, Melissa, what would your 80-year-old version of yourself say right now? Is she going to say, yeah, you're right, don't wear that bikini because you're worried about 3 bumps of cellulite on your upper thigh, lower glute? No, she's going to say, shut the fuck up. You look great. And get in the bikini. Don't worry about what other people think. You look great. I mean, look at me now. I'm all saggy and wrinkly, and so that's one of the mind tricks that I do on myself, and one of the thought experiments I go through in my mind that has really helped me just let go. And what triggered that is going through bikini competitions, and I got in the mindset of being hypercritical of my body, and you're always looking for improvement. And it wasn't in I think I did a really good job of not being disordered at all in my thinking while I was doing the competition. I wasn't directing my criticism at myself as a human. I was directing my criticism at myself as to what I could be doing better and what I needed to change and what was within my control given my genetics and my bone structure and the layout of my body, right? Like I can't make my legs longer and my torso a little bit shorter, so my proportions are a little bit off compared to some of the other girls that are maybe, if you look at a lot of, at least at the time, I haven't looked at this in a while, but if you look at a lot of the women that are winning, they're the overall and also winning in IFBB, most of them are 5'7". Like 5'7" is kind of that sweet spot, and they have a little bit longer legs. Obviously, they do have a pretty long torso. It's not a short torso, but mine is just like a little bit extra long, and my leg, it makes my legs look that much shorter. So it's harder for me to get that long, lean leg. Also, I have maybe some like more powerlifting genes in me. If you look at like my dad, for example, his wrists are like that wide. I mean, it's just like this bone structure that's just built for hardy joints, which is good, right? You want like these thick hardy joints, but I don't have that petite bone structure with like the little knees and the little ankles, and they call it bird bones in the this. Now I'm getting geeky on. This wasn't really my intention, but I'll go off on a tangent. They call it bird bones in the bodybuilding community. It's when like a man is really, really light, but they look so muscular, and a lot of it has to do with their bone structure. They have smaller joints, and every pound of muscle you pack on, it just gives this like illusion of the biceps being bigger. You know, if you think about it, if you have a little tiny knee and then you build a big quad on it and big hamstrings, it just gives that exaggerated look. Same with like the ant waist. Like if you have the smaller the waist, the bigger the lats look, and the bigger the spread of the back looks. Like it just gives that dramatic superhero, cartoony kind of vibe, which is awesome. It's just not me. It's just not something that obviously I can't change my knee structure and like my bone structure to be have smaller joints. So me knowing that and educating myself in that way is see, okay, what is humanly possible, but also knowing that I can always improve and always be better. And I think that's why you hear a lot of competitors say, and the healthier mindset competitors say, I'm just competing against myself. I'm competing against the version of myself yesterday, or I'm competing against my last version of myself in my last show. So it gave me a healthy mindset, practice around my body and how I think about my body and what it means to me. And it's very important to me. It's very important for me to feel comfortable in my body, to be able to move, to feel like I'm not broken every time I move, feel healthy, feel energized. And I did learn that in bodybuilding and competitions. Um, the other thing I learned is how to do hard things. So I am a recovering drug addict. I learned how to will my way into getting what I wanted being a drug addict, because you obsess. You know, it's like this obsessive mindset I keep saying when I was obsessing on drugs and partying and making that my life, the sole purpose of my life. Um, Obviously, I wasn't fulfilled. It's not a good feeling to just will your way through existence and not care about other people. It's a very selfish disorder, or disordered thinking. I don't like to think of it as a disorder that you have forever. I like to think of it as disordered thinking, um, and practicing new ways of thinking. So I got clean, obviously, and sober, and I don't drink to this day. I just don't see a purpose, and I don't think that it's really worth the risk for me to know that if it would help, it's not useful for me at this. I've decided it's just not a useful thing in my life for the most part. And then also it goes, there's that mindset where there's that saying where once an addict, always an addict, once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. And that may or may not be true. So, and I don't really know the answer. And I know my genetics are built for alcoholism. I did all this genetic testing and found out that like I metabolize drugs. Like I'm like the higher like percentile of people that uh, metabolize drugs super fast and alcohol super fast, and I have like all the genes for alcoholism, so certainly have that stacked against me. So I don't know if I took a drink that I would, obviously, I'd probably be fine for a little while, but eventually would it trigger like an older mindset and kind of spin me out? And if I am an alcoholic, then that risk may be worth it. But if I'm not, then the risk isn't even worth it. Like it's not even worth considering. And then on top of that, the extra calories, I think I was a health coach for a long time. And one of the biggest blocks for people is drinking. I would ask people not to drink for 30 days in their first 30 days with me. And if they weren't willing to do that, I basically didn't take them on as a client. I said, I can't help you. I think this is something you need to work on. Because if they're not willing to do that, they probably do have some underlying issue that I'm not going to be able to fix for them. And then two, if they did, if we start negotiating on that, then they might be lying to me. They might start lying, because alcohol is one of those things that people do lie about. Obviously, food is too, but some of it, I think, with food is subconscious, and people don't mean to lie about it. They're just eating mindlessly. But anyway, I'm getting off on another tangent. So it really changed who I was as a person, and I learned how to do hard things. Obviously, I did hard things as an addict, but in a different way. It wasn't in a positive direction, it was in a negative direction. And one example I like to give people is anything can be positive or negative. So, not eating, for example. If I decided just not to eat today, that could mean to society that I am an anorexic, or it could mean that I'm a health freak and I'm fasting. But what really matters is what it means to me as the person doing it to myself. Am I doing it out of love, or am I doing it out of hate for myself? So if I'm doing it out of love for myself, I'm probably going to call it fasting. If I'm doing it out of hate for myself, it's probably going to be labeled as a disorder, and I would be considered anorexic, right? Because I'm damaging myself in a way. So a lot of these behaviors have to do with your personal intention, or my personal intention, and what I am meaning to do and what I make it mean for myself, and whether I'm doing it out of hate or love for myself and others. So doing hard things to damage my body, to do as many drugs as possible, to be careless and not care what property I damage, not care and steal, and things like that. That's not a good mindset, obviously, to be in. And then today, I do hard things, maybe in the gym or at work, because it feels good to accomplish, and I'm not damaging anyone in the process, right? Like I might be a little bit sore the next day, and that's really the biggest consequence. However, I've seen people overdo it. I've seen people hurt themselves in the gym. I've seen people take risks, like unnecessary risks. So can exercise turn into a disorder? Yes. Or disordered thinking? Yes. You can really take anything in this world and turn it into an addiction and disordered thinking and go too far with it. So there's that fine line of doing it, finding the reasons why you're doing the thing and treating yourself with love in the process, and knowing that you're continuing to grow. Am I better than I was yesterday? If the answer is yes, then I'm on the right path. If the answer is no, it's like, okay, I'm doing this thing because I want to lift more and my ego is getting in the way. And am I really doing this squat for me because it's the best exercise for me at this moment in my life? Or am I doing this squat with all this weight to impress my peers around me, or for a YouTube video or something like that? These are all, or to quench the thirsty demon inside that rises up every once in a while. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've gone to the gym and just beat myself up for hours on end because I didn't want to think about, because I was mad about something, or I was just went internal and just wanted to forget about everything outside of my body and just go inward. So I've certainly used it for that before as well. Now I know when I have that feeling when I'm just like, oh, I want to get in there and just do 20 million reps until my legs fall off, you know? And I get in there and I know, okay, well, today would be a good day for machines. Like, let's not like, or like go super light on squatting, you know, don't load up hundreds, you know, too much weight on a bar. Like, let's be reasonable here. Or I'll make it hard in a different way now, like maybe just body weight or, you know, just the bar, like I said, and go, okay, I'm going to go the whole freaking song, you know, or something like, you know, just to get that demoned out. And then usually my laziness kicks in after. Sometimes it ramps up, but sometimes it just kind of diminishes. But anyway, that's probably unrelatable to most people. So I'll move on from to the next thing that it really helped me do. It helped me learn how to plan. I used to see discipline as this awful thing. I'm like, oh my God, discipline, this is terrible. Like, I just pictured like a soldier or some super rigid person that like never has fun. And having fun and art and color and the fringes of life excite me. So that just sounded like not me. I'm like, okay, discipline, this whole discipline thing is not Melissa. Like, it's not Mel. This is not resonating with me. I'm just not even going to look into it, right? It was more spontaneous and I love it. Like, not as much now, but I was super impulsive. I just loved impulse, just being impulsive and just doing stuff, not even thinking about it. And that can be exciting. It can be a lot of fun. However, through the bikini competitions, I learned what discipline actually means to me. And that means following through on what you said you would do on a long-term basis and committing to a certain action to produce a theory or a said result. So let's say I theorize that if I go to the gym every day for 1 hour, I will lose 10 pounds in 5 weeks. And that is my theory. And okay, so now what do I think the minimum things I should do when I get to the gym will be in that hour that will give me progress. So let's say I'm just going to the gym every day and doing a 15-minute walk on an incline treadmill. If I wanted to lose an additional 5 pounds, well, probably I'd start with diet, but let's say I would do 3 sets of 5 on squats, and I would do the bike within a certain heartbeat beat per minute for 15 minutes, and I come up with a list of exercises that would take me about an hour instead of the 15-minute walk. And my theory is that if I increase my exercise load from 15 minutes to this other strength or workout program, that I will lose 2 pounds a week for the next 5 weeks. Therefore, I will have 10 pounds of weight loss. And so that's my theory. And so I've committed to that. And my discipline level is my ability to execute on that plan and measure my theory to see if my theory worked or not. So during that process, I'm not allowed to judge myself or judge my output because I just keep doing the thing, because I don't know, is it going to take 10 weeks? It might take 10 weeks. Maybe my theory is wrong, or maybe my theory is wrong because now that, after the 5 weeks, I look back and I'm like, okay, I lost 5 pounds, which is great. That's better than being, having that 5 extra pounds of fat that I had 5 weeks ago. But maybe I gained some muscle, or maybe I'm having some water retention because I'm working out more. There's all these things that you can learn about from the result, but you can't. I think a lot of people just say, okay, I'm going to go to the gym for an hour a day because I want to lose weight, period, at the end, and don't put a timeline on it and don't put enough of a theory behind what they think the outcome is going to be after X number of weeks or days. So they go to the gym, they work super hard, And then after a couple of days, they're tired and they're like, sit on the scale. They go on the scale and they're like, what the hell? I gained 3 pounds, or I gained 5 pounds, or like, this isn't working. Like, this sucks. And when I set a goal, more of like a long term, like several weeks, it doesn't allow my brain to do that to me. My brain isn't allowed to really go down that path, because I weigh myself like, okay, I'm up 3 pounds, whatever. It doesn't matter today. What matters is 5 weeks from now, my measurement 5 weeks from now. What's that going to look 5 weeks from now? Of course, I can ponder as to why and maybe do some research and try to find out why this is happening. And it's quite common, just so that you know, that when people start exercising, they gain a couple of pounds, and it's usually just water weight, because your body's going, I don't know what this bitch is going to do. Is this bitch going to just start running, for miles on end? Or, am I going to need this extra fluid to build muscle? Or maybe I broke down some muscle and I've got this extra fluid, because fluid carries with it cells that and nutrients that help your body repair, the muscle repair. So that is going to bring extra inflammation, but it's good inflammation, right? We're not supposed to take Advil anymore, to where you're not supposed to do ice too much when you're super sore, because it kind of quelches some of that muscle gains, right? If you want to gain the maximum amount, you got to kind of time your icing and your heating and all that stuff. So anyway, another tangent. So planning, discipline, um, working hard, just being a different person altogether, not being kind of quelching my impulsivity, and the other thing I would say about planning too is it taught me to do time management a lot better. So I've worked on time management for years and years and years and years, just like how I've worked on sales for years and years and years and years. It's always kind of been a part of me, like on and off in my life. Like with sales, I was the little kid that knocked door to door at the age of 5 or 6, or I don't know, maybe even younger, and selling rocks. I'd go around and collect rocks and then sell them back to the neighbors to buy candy, get candy because my parents wouldn't give me money for candy, so I had to figure out like how to get my own money. And I would sell my artwork. Anyway, I would sell my artwork to my neighbors and stuff. So, and I'd have different pricing, have like this is the 5 cent, this is the 25 cent, and then this is the dollar one, because this one's like really, it was like the prettiest one, or had the most paint or something. And everybody gave me $1 just because they thought it was cute. But most people would choose the middle option, right? Anyway, so just like that has always been a part of my life. Also, time management has always interested me. I had one great high school teacher. I completely hated high school. I tested out when I was 16 years old. I think I talked about that in one of my other episodes, so I won't really like dive into that too much. But I did have one teacher that was amazing, and he taught a 0 period class and he talked about stocks, and he talked about like making these lists and how to prioritize your time, and like life stuff. And I really, really loved that class. So that was my first he planted the seed for me to know that it was a thing. I hadn't even really considered it before. And of course, later on, he left being a high school teacher and became a business coach and time management coach. And I, of course, read his book, and I went down that path. And yeah, he was really big on building the ideal day. Look at each day and think about the next day and what would make that day an ideal day. And I would take pictures of moments in my day that were ideal to me. It was a nice practice of being present too. Like, oh wow, I'm at this beautiful place in front of this beautiful fountain. Let me take a selfie. Like, oh, this is ideal. Like, this is a cool moment. And I would make a collage and I'd put it on Instagram every day. I think those were some of my first posts on Instagram, actually. So that was really a time where I built myself quite a bit, and I used a lot of those tools in my bodybuilding and competing days when I was doing that. And it really taught me to, okay, I've blocked out this hour and I planned my week, and these are the hours that I can work in going to the gym. Or let me try going to the gym in the morning before work and see what that looks like and what I have to do to make that happen. And then what does it look like in the middle of my day, and what does it look like at the end of my day? And so I'd kind of play with these different kind of templates for my day to see how they fit in. And the one that I ended up liking best was, I worked in Santa Barbara at the time. And if anybody has ever been on the 101 between Ventura and Santa Barbara, it's always under construction. Two, the lanes, like there's just not enough lanes. It's expanded a little bit in some areas now, but back then it was all 2 lanes the whole way for the most part. And then there's these on ramps, so people are getting on in Montecito and Carpinteria, and the on ramps are like 2 feet long. So if somebody's going from a stop sign to right on the freeway, so if they can't speed up fast enough to 65, so everybody has to slow down, let people on the freeway. There's not any room to get over. Like, it's a disaster. California roads are like, just a disaster. Nobody plans for rain. It floods if there's a half an inch of rain. Like, it's just disaster. Anyway, so if I left my house at 6 a.m. like everybody else, it would take me an hour and a half to get to work. If I left at 4 a.m., it would take me about 35 minutes to get there. So it saved me an hour going in early. So I would I think I would leave my house at like 4:30, sometimes 5. I think if I left I think I determined that if I left before 5, I would save like a whole hour. There was some sweet spot time, like if I left before this, 5:15 or something like that, I would get there within 35 minutes and save an entire hour of my life. So I would leave, let's say 5 a.m., get there at 5:40, park, get in the gym. The gym's right on State Street. It's a 24-hour fitness. Go in there, it's nasty. I've learned that in nice areas, 24-hour fitnesses are nasty. In shittier areas, 24-hour fitnesses are usually pretty nice, which is weird. But it makes sense because, rent on State Street is probably super high. So anyway, it's kind of a nasty gym, but you know what? They got equipment, so I had to get it done. Get there. Obviously, they have showers and stuff, so I could go in, do my cardio, do my weightlifting, bring my work clothes, take a shower, get dressed, and drive to my office, which was, right off State Street. So it was a super short drive, no traffic or anything, very consistent traffic flow between those streets. And it's always kind of just a bunch of stoplights, and it takes 10 minutes because it's just stoplights and pedestrians and downtown stuff, right? So I would do that and get to work on time and be ready and be able to blow dry my hair. And was it uncomfortable to get ready in the gym? Yeah, it's not. I'd rather get ready at home, but I focused on saving that hour of my life. Instead of sitting in traffic, I hate traffic, so I would rather be at the gym working out and get dressed outside of my home. Somewhere that's not as comfortable as my home. So that was the trade-off. There's a downside to everything. Nothing's perfect. You're always doing trade-offs, and that was the trade-off that I decided to make. Also, I was very fortunate to be in sales and B2B sales. So I learned how to calendar my meetings. So let's say I would be in Ventura from noon to 1, going to lunch with a client. And then after that, maybe, all I had to do was respond, go through emails for maybe I had a couple hours of emails, or I had to create a proposal or something like that. Something I could do from home. So I would leave, maybe go to the office, leave at 11 to be there at noon, then eat lunch, and my lunch break, because I work during lunch, right? in my mind would be, okay, let's go to the gym. And that'll be our, especially when I was doing 2-a-days, that'll be, my second session, my second time in the gym. And then I'll go home and take a shower and do the rest of my work, and that's it, right? So working in those things, I was able to set times, and I would look at it like my point is, I would look at it like a meeting, because I would say, because we always compromise with ourselves, or I always compromise with myself, like, oh, do I really have to do this thing? And is this the best thing? You set it on your calendar, and then right before you have to do the thing, you start, oh, I don't really feel like it. Do I really have time? Is that really the best thing to do right now? And sometimes it is a good idea to take an audible and not do the thing you planned on doing. Most of the time, you should probably be doing the thing that you said you would do, and then adjust your calendar later to know better that that wasn't the right thing, and maybe adjust it, according to the actions that you took previously. Just do the thing, right? And then plan better next time is usually the best thing to do. But taking audibles, sometimes it's necessary, right? Um, so everybody kind of has this conversation like, oh, I don't want to do the thing. I don't feel like going to the gym right now. Man, maybe I'll go in an hour. Or they start compromising with themselves rather than just going and doing the thing. So I learned to treat it like a client meeting, or a prospect meeting, or a prospect phone call, or a doctor's appointment. It's an appointment on my calendar. This is the time I set up. This is the time I'm going. You're going. Even if you go and foam roll the whole time and stretch and because you're sore or something, like, this is the time you're going. So I really, really learned to look at those blocks on my calendar as appointments and take them seriously. That's another thing that bodybuilding and fitness competitions taught me. So I'm sure I'm forgetting a couple of things. I know I rambled a little bit, but hopefully it gave some color and some interest, and made it a little bit more relatable to some people. I feel like I'm getting to the point maybe where a lot of people don't relate to me, or they think I'm weird and crazy. So hopefully some of you found this information useful, and I'm going to continue doing these reflection series. I have a couple more topics I want to get to. I think I'm going to do 6 and then move on to maybe something else, or we'll see how it goes. But so if you like the video, go ahead and subscribe. I'm going to be releasing a couple more of these. Also, please comment down below on what you resonated with, what you liked. And thank you for hanging out till the end, and we'll see you next time.